Hi, friends. Um, I don't like the autofocus on this camera because so often when I use that setting, it seems to be focusing in and out while I'm talking. And I get to see that when I look at what I recorded, but I'm having trouble getting it to focus on my eyes properly. They look fuzzy to me. Maybe I just need glasses, huh? But I've got it set for medium resolution, so I'm not stressing the camera, and we'll see what I can come up with here. Um, it's been really interesting times. I really haven't been available um, to communicate much. I've been working inside, uh, and so I just haven't been there for friends on Skype or much for people online. I do try to answer comments. Um, I don't know what to do. I click down and I look at, I've got 8 or 9 journals open that haven't been processed. Most of them haven't been recorded. Some of them have been recorded, but I haven't done any write-up on them. And I don't know what to do. The energy is just flowing. And so I guess I'll get caught up with that at some point, but this isn't the point for it. It's coming like a waterfall. And so here I am in front of the camera again. I really don't know what I have to say, but I do have a little, I call it ideas, text file, where when things come to me that touch me, for whatever reason, I write them down. Um, Not that I ever seem to be at a loss for what to say, anyway. Something's been happening. Now, I don't know about you, but for me, 10/28 was a very significant day. It began 3 days of such pain, not bodily pain, emotional heaviness, sorrow, intensity, such intensity. There were times I thought I would explode. And from what I'm seeing, I was somehow changed during those 3 days. I was really glad on the 4th day to wake up and know that the heavy energy had lifted. Now, the nearest, well, you know you're different, and how you find out just in the little things you do, and something you go to write down, and you look at the way the words come out, and you think, oh my goodness, and you just notice, hey, that's different. I wouldn't have written it that way before. I tried to write something about love, about this level of communication that I've been desiring, and how, well, I can't talk externally about love, it seems. The closest I can get to this is that in order to be true to what I am now, I would actually have to say that I am love. And that doesn't make sense to the mind. It doesn't make sense to my mind either, folks. I mean, it's not like I don't have one, okay? And so it's very strange. more on this pursuit of what is the I? The I that I am, that you are, that anyone is. What is that? Now, I love working with Mooji. You can spend hours with him and get really high. If you're listening from heart, if you're listening from head, you probably just fall asleep and be bored. It's like Eckhart Tolle used to say, if you think you've come to listen to me and that I'm going to have anything that's interesting for your mind, you're going to be disappointed. There will be no new information here. And that's what minds are after. They want new info, or to understand how to work with old info better. The present moment is more and more crucial to what I am. I almost feel, I don't know, like something's exploded inside, and so much of who and what I once was just isn't here anymore. And it feels kind of strange, like you're a new person and you don't really know who you are. But just by the feelings, the not the feeling, I don't know, words, words. It feels really good, by the way. Feels fantastic. It feels like there's a furnace inside, a sun, actually. And it's like I can feel the intensity of the burning, uh, the putting out of that light. And sometimes it feels like a physical vibration almost, at a high frequency, but you can still feel the energy of that. Hope I'm making some sense. What is the I? Oh, I was listening. I went brain dead a few days ago. I'm not worth anything. I can journal and that's about it. Answer a few emails. And when I get like this, I don't try to be productive. I'm content to just lay around and watch uplifting videos. So I was listening to a Mooji video, and I heard what he had to say about the idea of dropping down into heart. And I was glad to hear it. And as soon as I heard it, I realized, yes. He says, and who observes that? Who is it that observes this action? And so I may well be reevaluating the whole thing with the concept of dropping down into heart. See, we're all going along on this walk, skip, and run into higher consciousness together. I see us sometimes like a bunch of little kids joining hands and laughing and singing and just having great joy. But whatever we're doing it together. Know that every step that any one of us takes that is for benefit is for the benefit of the all. I keep seeing the fractal and knowing that it's a hologram and that the whole is contained in every part. I say that the whole, not just the whole universe, but the whole cosmos can be found within me Well, it can probably be found within a cell or within an atom. It's all self-containing somehow, and it doesn't need to make sense to the mind. That is thoroughly unimportant. We're going into higher physics here. We're going into higher frequencies. We're going into higher understandings and ideas. For a long time, this whole thing where I even toyed with the idea, you hear some people say, well, we're already in the fourth dimension and that's time. And I have to disagree with that now, because to me, time-space is a fabric. It's woven, and one is the warp and one is the woof, and it can't be separated out. Oh, and I remember now, what's the book? It's not Talbot. The Tao of Physics, Capra, Friedrich Capra. I remember he said that and has the physics and the math to support it. I highly recommend that book to any of you that have even a remotely scientific bent or that enjoy quantum physics. It's very good. It's a bit challenging, okay? So if you don't want a challenge, don't read it. But oh my goodness, he'll take you by the hand into some wonderful places and spaces if you enjoy exploring quote unquote reality. So what is reality? I'm not sure we'll ever know, considering that there is both eternity and infinity, and those two are woven together because one is time and one is space. And there's the endlessness of it. So whatever we would know upon being known would morph and change, ever growing and improving, I guess, as all good fractals do. I don't know. What is the I? I even begin to see how the I itself can disappear. But I'm afraid I would get so high trying to talk about that. Sometimes it's hard. I mean, like right now, I feel a little bit tipsy, just with these energies. Now, some have wondered how my communication is going with the light beings. It's gotten off to just a wee bit, well, it's not a rocky start. It's just that I was disappointed. I find that I brought expectations into it. Once again, perhaps looking up too much to anything outside of the self. That I don't like the restriction of having to ask questions, not being able to have an unfettered conversation. Now, deep within, not accessible right now by this conscious mind, there is an understanding of that. And of course, it's valid and it's just the way that it is. And I'll adapt. But it was a bit hurtful because I went in so hopeful to finally have myself and all of this intensity of love reflected back to me, and to feel that I was really being seen and being heard and understood. And I find that the communication is at a much more elementary state. I mean, I have to be sure that I'm hearing and hearing correctly. I'm not willing to go with it just touchy-feely. It's got to meet some rigorous standards, or I'm not interested in doing it. I mean, that's just me. Everybody, go with your own heart. Don't let anything I say limit you in any way. There's nothing here that doesn't exist right there where you are. So, but that's just the way I'm doing it. That's my decision, and it's very firm. This has got to be truly accurate. I don't need to be like Mellon Thomas Benedict, who goes consciously to the other side and back daily, I think, since his near-death experience. He's very rare in that. And I think his first name is Mellon Thomas. It's hyphenated. I don't know exactly. He's well worth listening to. He's legitimate as far as my heart can tell, you know. And so he brings back actual answers to scientific quandaries and problems. He brings back actual things that can be used in the development of technology. He's determined to, by his work and his service, anchor the science of it, that the other side not only exists and is real and is factual, but here's the proof of it. That's his work, and that's his joy, and that's the intensity of his flame. That's what he's all about, and he's been faithful to it for many years. It's many years ago, decades, I think, since his near-death experience, which led to this sort of inner awakening, as it so often does for people. They come back and their inner senses have been opened by the experience somehow. And from what I gather, they never quite go back closed again to the way they were, which, you know, brings its own challenges all of a sudden. You know, you're seeing and hearing things that you weren't accustomed to being aware of. Friends, we share our reality. I really believe it's time to get rid of the idea that we're alone here on the earth, that I'm alone here in this room, or that you are in that room where your body is. Okay? We have ideas that get in the way of true perception. And this is one of the ideas that I suggest we all have a look at. It's not necessary to see and communicate with spirits, with spirit, with you know, beings on other planes and dimensions. But I think it's a good idea to know that they exist. They do share our reality. And if the dimensions are coming together, as some say they are, the Andromedans have predicted through Alex Collier that 3D is getting ready to implode in the next, I don't know, a couple of years, maybe, something like that. Actually, I think they even gave a date. I wish they wouldn't do that. Time is so funny. That so often doesn't work out. But I think it was in early 2013. I'm just so not tied into dates. I feel like they disconnect you from the present moment. The present moment is always just now, and it's enough, and it's plugged into all of that, to everything that is. The whole fabric of time-space can be accessed from the present moment, right now. But we're almost never present in the moment. The moment's here all the time, but where are we? Off somewhere in the mind. You know, we're in the past or in the future, or if you're working with concepts, those things come from the past, you know, pictures, all of that. It's amazing what a challenge it is to gather the self up and just make it be still. It's truly amazing, and it's delightful and fun now as an exercise to play with. I suggest it's also developmental, because should there be a time of chaos that might come, and I don't know that that's on the horizon. Unfortunately, a lot of people's belief systems are working to bring it in. If you believe in Armageddon, you're helping to create it. That's what beliefs do. And that's why the beings that want to control things try to get us in groups of one kind or another, and then get us believing along the same lines. They know, we haven't, but they've known all along that belief creates. And so what they want to create, they feed to us as a belief. And since any being that wants to control another one is vibrating at a lower frequency, period, then that's their desire, is to keep humanity and everything vibrating at low frequencies, because they exist, they feed on that energy. Oh, it's so easy to escape from this, friends. It really is. You just turn away. You just look the other way. You just don't feed attention to these things. And you open up the footlocker full of old ancient beliefs. All of our programming is in there, but we can take a look at it, belief by belief, and decide it's time to make a conscious choice. What do you want to be your reality? Well, go through your beliefs and get rid of everything that operates against that. And there's a really easy way to get that going. All you have to do is spend some time with yourself, finding out what are your core beliefs. What are the things that are most important to you? And forget time. Just right now, what's most important to you right now? What are your core beliefs? What do you want to be so? And then from your list, you can pick something and say, okay, this is a conscious belief that I choose to have. Let's just say that everything is built of love, made of love. That love is the foundation of everything. So you choose a belief like that. And as soon as you do that, within 72 hours, you're going to be experiencing all kinds of riffraff come up from your subconscious and your unconscious that disagrees with it. And you're going to be greeting and meeting all the old beliefs that are tucked away that will be brought to the surface because you just put something in there that doesn't vibrate with them, and it makes them uncomfortable. And so there you've got it. That gives you a chance to go through a whole stream or system of beliefs. And so you choose a belief of any kind that resonates with you, that you want to make a part of your life, of your reality, a new way. For instance, that attitude is a choice. A lot of people are still playing the victim. That role will have you pointing fingers and blaming for why you feel this way, think this way, do this way, whatever, And so even just choosing, so you don't want to just say, okay, I want to weed out this particular negative belief. I think it's important to have something you want to replace it with. So my way is to pick a positive belief. Instead of saying I want to get rid of the victim consciousness, I'll say I want to become aware of the victim consciousness. And then whenever it comes up in my awareness, I can look closely at that, and there goes a piece of it, and there goes a piece of it. All I have to do is see it with the intent inside, that I'm not playing the victim role anymore. And it'll go away. But what I like to do is I like to choose a positive belief, put it in there, and that does the work for you. You don't have to go digging around and sitting there making up lists, trying to figure out what your beliefs are. Don't waste any time. Don't do anything that doesn't feel really, really good to you. When you're spending time with yourself like this, let it feel good. Instead of trying to list all your old beliefs, instead go and look deep inside and find out what are the most important things of all to you. or a list of what are those things that make you truly and deeply happy, senselessly happy, for no reason whatsoever, you know. And so as we pick something and we decide, hey, that resonates with me, I like that, I choose that, I hear that's the way reality's made, I didn't believe that before, but I'm going to choose that as one of my current beliefs, and it will do all the work for you to bring up the other ones. Okay, enough of that. Love. You know what I'm finding is that everything that is a verb. It's a verb, it's a doing. You lose subject and object entirely. That's where the I goes. See, I've heard it said by a number of the masters. Nisargadatta is one. I recently heard Mooji say it, that at some point even the I am, will disappear. And I registered it. It didn't work for me. I didn't understand it at the time, but I registered it and just put it in heart. But I'm seeing now that in the disappearance of subject and object, where is there room for the I? The I is subjective. It's a subject. I remember a time many years ago when I was, I had been saying my prayers. Back then I had a whole list of them, and I might have been saying a rosary or something. There are others besides Catholics who use beads to count prayers. And not that there's anything wrong with Catholics using beads to say their rosaries. I got into a really, really high state of consciousness. I was tripping. I was so high. And I remember trying to express my gratitude. And I was so high, I could barely put the words together. But as soon as I would start to say, thank you, I noticed that I would drop down in consciousness. It was like I was up in the clouds and I would start descending. So I would stop saying it because I didn't want to drop out of that. And I would rise back up. And then in a little bit, I was just so overwhelmed with the bliss and the beauty of it, I would go to register that thanks by saying thank you. And again, down I would come. So I would stop in the middle and I would go back up. And this happened a number of times until I realized what I was doing. I was making a subject and an object out of me and God. And so in order to do that, I had to descend into a person who would thank something separate from itself. And that didn't work when there was nothing but this union. And so anyway, that's what I'm talking about. If you've ever had an experience around this, feel free to put it in the comments when this video goes up, because this is the disappearance of the I. And yet, now that was a time when I was really high. That was the first time I was directly experientially introduced to this. And there were no words spoken at all. It was just the experience of trying to register thanks and the descent. And saying, I am grateful, is more like the sun shining. It's not making subject and object out of it. But even then, that's transitional perhaps, because we do get beyond even the observer. The observer is this I am, and it's divine. It's the I am that I am that's somehow, one way to say it is that it's placed a bit of itself in each one of us. And so we all answer to the same I, the I am. And there's a oneness there. But there's also the presence of this observer within the self that sees everything happening. Now, I think the watch and observe practice will take us a long way into this. Just quietly watching. And then you get me tired of me talking about Mooji, but my hours of listening to him, I can get high these days just thinking about him. I don't know what's going on now, folks. I really don't. I mean, since that calendar ended on the 28th, it's been a wild ride for me. Everything is amped up so intensely. And I'm hoping that you're noticing it too, because nothing's personal. I'm beginning to believe that nothing is personal. You know, as long as we're separating out into subject and object, an I and a you, we can have this illusion of being a person. My first introduction to the idea that I'm not a person was Sri Nisargadatta's book, I Am That. Now that's available free on the web, the electronic copy. If you go to my Scribed account, Deep Peace, I've got a collection of favorites. I call it Favorites in Fun, and I Am That is one of them. You can download it from there free. And you can open the book at any point. All of the chapters are mostly 2 or 3 pages. They're short conversations. They're satsangs, just like with Mooji, only generally a good bit shorter. And so the chapter will be self-contained. And one doesn't necessarily follow on another, so you don't have to worry about reading them in any kind of order. He's the first one that introduced me to the fact that you eventually transcend the person. Now, he said you even transcend God. There are layers and levels to the manifestation of that which is God or Source. The isness, prime creator. The Syrians sometimes say that which is and always was and always shall be, capitalizing and putting hyphens between it all. It's not productive to try to put words and labels on God. There is something ultimate, but we have levels and layers that we can transcend. And if we will just stay with the now, Maybe that's what I'll start calling it. Just stay with the present moment and be aware of the mind and stay out of it for the most part. Let it be a tool that you use when you need it, not something that drives you crazy and that's in charge of you and in charge of your now, of your present moment, of your space. Okay, I see I've really chattered on long here, so I'll push stop. Good day and God bless. And thank you for listening.